In the history of Nazi Germany, the name Ilse Koch is tied to brutal and controversial crimes. She would walk around the detention areas, forcing prisoners to keep their heads down. Anyone who violated the rule faced harsh punishment. Records note that she used severe violence against prisoners, including women and children. Survivors called her by nicknames, such as the Witch of Buchenwald or the Beast of Buchenwald. In their memories, Ilse appears as someone who exploited suffering to assert power. All of this took place at the Buchenwald concentration camp, one of the largest camps near the city of Weimar. Ilse was the wife of Karl Otto Koch, the camp commandant, with her husband's backing. She turned the place of detention into an environment of violence and abuse. Yet Ilse Koch was not born a monster. Earlier, she had been an ordinary young woman, raised in a family in Dresden, with schooling and steady employment. So what transformed her? To find out, we need to look back at her childhood, up to the point when she joined the Nazi Party. On April 8, 1945, about 5 kilometers from the city of Weimar, a group of prisoners at Buchenwald used a homemade transmitter to send an SOS in Morse code. The message read, "To the Allies, to General Patton's army. This is the Buchenwald camp. SOS. We need to be rescued. We face the risk of being liquidated." 3 minutes later, they received a reply. Recorded verbatim. "Hold out. We are coming. Headquarters, 3rd Army." 3 days later, on April 11th, tanks of the U.S. 6th Armored Division entered and liberated the camp. More than 21,000 surviving prisoners were found in a severely emaciated state. After inspecting the site, General Patton ordered the local authorities to bring 1,000 citizens of Weimar to witness it firsthand. At Buchenwald, they were confronted with direct evidence of crimes and grave human rights violations, including traces of mass burials and controversial artifacts documented on site, according to post-war records. The site noted several disputed artifacts, including paintings on human skin, certain body parts preserved in alcohol, and 2 heads that had been shrunk to about 1/5 of their normal size. These details are cited in post-war testimonies and reports and remain a matter of debate among historians. The video mentions them only in narration and does not display sensitive images. Many were shocked by what they saw, but they could not deny the truth. What happened here was not propaganda, but real crimes. And among the perpetrators at Buchenwald were figures who would later become notorious symbols. Margaret Ilse Koch was born on September 22, 1906 in Dresden, then part of the German Empire. She came from a Protestant family and grew up with 2 brothers. Ilse's childhood was ordinary, with no notable upheavals. After finishing primary school, she went on to a commercial school. There, Ilse studied office skills common. At the time, bookkeeping, shorthand, and typing. After graduating, she worked at various firms. In Dresden, as a secretary or bookkeeper. However, she did not stay long at any one place and changed jobs frequently. She was seen as diligent, but lacking clear direction. During the 1920s, Germany remained mired in the crises of the Weimar Republic. Inflation, unemployment, and political instability led many young people to seek support in extremist organizations. In that setting, Ilse, a young office worker, was drawn to propaganda slogans. They exalted order and a stable future, as promoted by the Nazi Party. The turmoil of German society did not immediately produce criminals, but it created an environment in which extremist ideas could take root in otherwise ordinary people. In May 1932, at age 25, Ilse joined the Nazi Party. She was issued a party card with a membership number among that year's new entrants. In Dresden, she frequently appeared at rallies and local meetings. There, Ilse began to come into contact with members of the SS, who styled themselves as the elite, force of the regime's racial ideology, the display of power by men in black. Uniforms left a strong impression on Ilse. That environment gradually drew her into the Nazi orbit, opening the path that would later lead to acts of brutality. In 1934, at age 28, Ilse Koch met Karl Otto Koch, an SS officer 8 years her senior. Their relationship quickly deepened. Ilse gradually moved further into the SS milieu, where many styled themselves as the elite force of the regime's racial ideology. On September 1st, 1936, Karl was appointed commandant of Sachsenhausen, one of the larger Nazi concentration camps. The post consolidated Karl's power and drew Ilse closer to the regime's brutal apparatus of control. On May 25th, 1937, Karl and Ilse married. The marriage soon produced 3 children: Artwin in 1938, Gisela in 1939, and Gudrun in 1940. Outwardly, Ilse appeared to be a typical SS wife, tending to the household and attending social functions with her husband. However, later witness testimony indicates that she did not remain merely on the sidelines. According to many accounts from windows within the camp, compound Ilse watched the prisoners and shouted when they looked up. The result was harsh disciplinary measures carried out by guards at her signal. After the war, Ilse denied ever entering the detention area. Survivors' testimony contradicts that. In August 1937, Karl was tasked with building a new concentration camp near Weimar. That camp would later be named Buchenwald. Ilse Koch, then a newlywed, followed her husband there. From this point, Ilse Koch's influence and role became clearly evident. From 1939 to 1945, Buchenwald expanded into a network with at least 88 subcamps. By 1944, the number of women rose sharply. When the camp took over subcamps from Ravensbrück, testimonies also indicate that Ilse led a complex and dissolute personal life. Her relationships were not limited to her marriage, but extended to several officers within the SS apparatus, reflecting the moral decay at Buchenwald. At the same time, Ilse intervened directly in the management of prisoners. From then on, her name became associated with serious abuse. Reports state that Ilse exploited prisoners' deprivation to coerce them into humiliating acts in her presence. In 1941, Karl Koch ordered that all directives issued by Ilse were to be obeyed, as if they were his own. From that point, her power became nearly absolute. Many witnesses said Ilse deliberately provoked prisoners. Anyone who violated the rules, such as looking up, could face harsh discipline. Another witness testified that Ilse used violence against pregnant women and even children, causing injuries. Specific descriptions were recorded in the files. These specific incidents were repeated many times in post-war testimony. In June 1940, a prisoner who had drunk a glass of wine was denounced by Ilse. According to testimony, he had to endure severe disciplinary measures. He survived, but not everyone did. According to these records, the punishment included running barefoot over a bed of stones, being given 25 lashes, and being suspended by the arms for about 3 hours. These descriptions are taken from witness files. The video does not depict sensitive images. In early 1940, a prisoner and a Czech chaplain were digging a deep pit. Ilse stood at the edge in civilian clothing. When they looked up, she was alleged to have used force, injuring the chaplain. After the war, Ilse denied it, saying she had never carried a riding crop and always wore full riding attire. However, direct eyewitness testimony contradicted this. Some depositions describe minimalist, clothing, and provocative behavior, said to have made it easier for prisoners to violate the no looking up rule. The above information is based on testimony and should be understood in the context of historical records. In the fall of 1941, a witness stated that Ilse hurled harsh insults at an Austrian prisoner for looking up. Immediately afterward, Karl used force to subdue him, rendering him unconscious. In the summer of 1942, Ilse discovered a group of 11 prisoners picking berries near her residence. According to testimony, the group was subjected to humiliating and severe discipline. Another deposition notes that 5 were given 25 lashes, while the others received 5 strikes after being forced to remove their shirts. The wording in the video remains neutral and avoids graphic detail. In another case, seeing a prisoner with a health problem who needed to use the latrine. Ilse ordered it stopped. He was forced to continue working, leading to collapse. According to testimony, he died the next day. Another witness recalled that in 1941 or 1942, a column of Jewish prisoners had to carry heavy stones from the quarry to her house. When they slowed or fell, Ilse allegedly used force. Some were seriously injured and had to be carried back to the camp. According to testimony, there were fatalities. Ilse was also alleged to have a particular interest in tattoos. She often rode on horseback around the camp to observe the prisoners. Many believed that prisoners with distinctive tattoos might be taken away and not seen again. One witness remembered that in the summer of 1940, Ilse Koch paid special attention to a French or Belgian prisoner named Jean. He had very distinctive tattoos, including an extremely intricate sailboat. Jean was taken away soon afterward and was never seen again. 6 months later, this witness saw a piece of skin with a similar sailboat in the camp's pathology department. Beyond direct acts of violence, Ilse also took part in public humiliations. In February 1938, according to testimony, she and 4 SS officers' wives observed body inspections of prisoners for an extended period. Witnesses said their demeanor was insulting and demeaning. Some records state that Ilse coerced non-consensual sexual acts between prisoners. These are actions that many survivors have attested to. All of the above details show that the authority Karl gave to Ilse turned her into a figure feared throughout the camp. She was also accused of ordering harsh disciplinary measures and even intervening in selecting those to be sent away or removed from work details, treating prisoners as instruments for her own ends. Across many testimonies, Ilse Koch appears not only complicit, but an active participant in serious abuse, from violence against prisoners to allegations involving the use of human remains. The level of wrongdoing is described as particularly grave in many testimonies. In 1941, the Koch's embezzlement and brutality came under the scrutiny of the SS leadership. Josias Waldeck, their immediate superior, discovered that Karl had ordered the disposal of 3 prisoners. According to the allegations, these men later died because they had previously treated him for syphilis. In order to prevent the disclosure of personal information, this detail is drawn from investigative files, not a final court finding. The case led to a formal investigation conducted by Georg Conrad Morgan, a judge of the SS court. Morgan quickly gathered evidence of corruption and systematic acts resulting in death at Buchenwald. He determined that Karl and Ilse had misappropriated more than 700,000 Reichsmarks from prisoners' property. In present-day terms, that amounts to roughly $6.7 million. From these funds, they built an indoor riding arena costing 250,000 Reichsmarks, purchased a luxury car, and opened Swiss bank accounts. According to a May 1940 entry, the indoor riding arena project had been approved, constructed at the stated cost, by commonly used conversions. In the sources, this is estimated at about $2.4 million. In September 1941, Karl Koch was transferred to the Majdanek camp. During that time, Ilse remained at the commandant's residence at Buchenwald before both were later arrested. In August 1943, both Karl and Ilse were arrested to await trial by an SS court, although Ilse was acquitted for lack of direct evidence. Karl was convicted of embezzlement and acts resulting in death. On April 5, 1945, his death sentence was carried out by order of the SS just days before U.S. forces entered the area. In late June 1945, Ilse Koch was arrested by U.S. forces in Ludwigsburg, where she had been hiding after the collapse of the Third Reich. 2 years later, on April 11th, 1947, the Buchenwald trial opened at Dachau, on the grounds of the former camp. According to court records, the trial had 31 defendants, with Ilse Koch the only female among them. During the proceedings, while the 30 male defendants received little public attention, the press focused intensely on Ilse Koch. Summarizing remarks made in court, Chief Prosecutor William Denson described Ilse Koch as an individual whose cruelty and deviance were rarely seen in the record. The press portrayed her in highly negative terms and gave her an extremely derogatory nickname. To maintain neutrality and comply with community guidelines, the video recounts the material only in narration and does not repeat slurs or display sensitive imagery. This underscores the role of the press in shaping a notorious image and the severe public judgment of Ilse's crimes. On August 14, 1947, the court imposed a life sentence. However, a death sentence was avoided because Ilse was pregnant during the trial. Her son, Uwe, was born in prison in October 1947. His father was another German inmate. A year later, Ilse's sentence was reduced to 4 years, provoking widespread outrage in Germany and abroad. The dates and figures are based on internal investigative files and the testimony of Judge Georg Conrad Morgan. The video presents them as source material only and does not include sensitive imagery. After the sentence was reduced to 4 years, 1948, public opinion in Germany and abroad was widely outraged. Many believed that justice for the victims had not been served. Under this pressure, in November 1950, a new trial was convened. In the Federal Republic of Germany, the proceedings lasted 7 weeks and summoned 250 witnesses. 50 appeared for Ilse's defense. In the courtroom, survivors' testimonies were regarded as the most weighty evidence. At least 4 witnesses asserted they saw Ilse select tattooed prisoners to be taken away. According to the allegations, those individuals were not seen again. Some testimonies also raised a controversial allegation involving the use of human remains to make objects. This undercut any claim that Ilse was merely a wife on the sidelines. The strain of the trial caused Ilse to break down multiple times. In late December 1950 and early January 1951, she collapsed in court and had to be carried out. On January 15, 1951, the court delivered its judgment. The 111-page decision found Ilse Koch guilty of multiple serious offenses and imposed a life sentence. Notably, she was not present in the courtroom when the sentence was read. From that point, Ilse Koch's legal fate was settled. After years of dispute, the evidence of her role at Buchenwald was affirmed. That ended all attempts to deny responsibility for the war crimes. After being sentenced to life imprisonment, Ilse Koch filed multiple petitions for clemency. All were rejected by the Bavarian Ministry of Justice, The earlier commutation had provoked public outrage, prompting the authorities to refuse to reopen the matter. In 1967, a personal tragedy struck her family. Artwin, the only son of Ilse and Karl Otto Koch, died. Authorities ruled it a suicide. According to relatives, he had been under heavy psychological pressure related to his parents' crimes. The incident is said to have worsened Ilse's mental condition. During her incarceration, she exhibited delusional symptoms. Ilse believed that former Buchenwald prisoners would come to torment her in her cell. She also said she saw the dead appear through the walls, demanding that she return what she had taken. These hallucinations grew increasingly severe, causing her mental state to deteriorate. On September 1st, 1967, at age 60, Ilse Koch died in her cell. Authorities determined it was a suicide. Her remains were buried in an unmarked grave, without a nameplate or ceremony. For many, this marked the end of a woman, associated with particularly grave crimes at Buchenwald. This brings the story to a close. Thank you for joining us in revisiting these historical records. If you found the content valuable, you can follow so you don't miss future analyses. See you in the next episode.